They are the raw, real parts of yourself that once understood and accepted can catapult you to places you never thought possible. Think about someone you admire, someone who seems to have it all figured out. Maybe it's a successful entrepreneur, a world-renowned artist, or someone who's made a huge impact in their community. If you ever sat down with them and had an honest conversation, you'd be surprised to hear how they've faced their own weaknesses. Every successful person has at one point or another had to confront their vulnerabilities. These are the very things that help them build resilience. Take the story of a woman I know. She was always the perfectionist, the type of person who needed everything to be in order, who didn't allow herself to fail. But behind that image of perfection was a deep insecurity that made her fear judgment. She was terrified of being seen as anything less than flawless. She couldn't stand the thought of someone discovering her flaws. But life, as it always does, has a way of showing us exactly what we need to learn. Her company hit a rough patch, the numbers weren't adding up, and suddenly the perfect image she'd built for herself began to crack. People around her started noticing her stress, her inability to hold it all together. And instead of retreating further into herself, she did something brave. She allowed herself to be seen. She admitted that she didn't have it all figured out, that she was struggling. She took the time to reflect on her weaknesses and decided to learn from them. She let go of the pressure to be perfect. And guess what happened? People started rallying around her. Her vulnerability didn't break her. It actually gave her the strength to connect with people in ways she never had before. Another example is of a man who spent years of his life hiding his self-doubt. He was a quiet, reserved person, always questioning his worth and abilities. In public, he put on a brave face. But at night, when the lights were out and the silence crept in, he struggled with imposter syndrome, constantly feeling like he didn't belong. It wasn't until he started sharing his doubts with a close friend that things began to shift. He realized that these feelings of inadequacy were not unique to him. They were universal. Everyone has them. By simply acknowledging them, he was able to take the power away from them. Instead of hiding from his insecurities, he leaned into them. He used them to fuel his growth. He knew that in order to overcome self-doubt, he had to stop fighting it and start understanding it. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up even when you're scared. Your weaknesses are the training ground for your strength. Every single one of us has been through tough times. Loss, rejection, failures, mistakes. These experiences are not something to be ashamed of. They are your greatest teachers. It's easy to get caught up in what we wish we were or where we think we should be. But real power comes from accepting yourself fully, flaws and all. The moment you accept your weaknesses, they no longer have power over you. You stop running from them and you start using them as fuel to propel you forward. The truth is, you cannot reach the highest heights if you're not willing to face your lowest moments. Look at any great leader, any person who's truly made an impact, and you'll find a story of struggle. Their journey wasn't about being perfect. It was about learning from every setback, every obstacle, and turning those so-called weaknesses into stepping stones. They weren't afraid to fail, they weren't afraid to be vulnerable, and most importantly, they weren't afraid to face their fears head-on. In fact, weaknesses often contain within them the key to your greatest strengths. For example, someone who has struggled with anxiety might learn to develop remarkable coping strategies, becoming incredibly resilient and empathetic in the process. A person who has battled with self-esteem issues may grow to be one of the most compassionate, kind-hearted individuals because they understand the pain of feeling less than. A person who has struggled with rejection may become a master at perseverance, knowing how to keep going when the world tells them to stop. So, embrace your weaknesses. Wear them like a badge of honor because they are a testament to your resilience, your courage, and your unwavering determination to grow. You don't need to hide from them and you don't need to let them define you. Let them teach you, let them mold you, and let them show you just how powerful you can be when you stop running and start embracing your true, imperfect self. Acts of kindness are powerful, transformative, and often underrated. In a world where everyone is caught up in their own struggles, it's easy to forget that small gestures of kindness can change someone's entire day or even their life. We live in a fast-paced society that glorifies success, achievement, and the pursuit of personal goals. But in the midst of all the hustle, we must remember that the true measure of our lives is not the wealth we accumulate or the titles we earn, but the lives we touch and the kindness we show. Consider the simple act of helping a stranger. Imagine you're at a grocery store and the elderly woman ahead of you is struggling to carry her heavy bag. You could ignore her as many would, but instead you offer a helping hand. That small gesture doesn't just make her day easier, it may restore her faith in humanity. That moment of kindness, something so small to you, could be a significant turning point for someone who has felt lonely or unseen. And while you may never know the depth of the impact of your kindness, it doesn't diminish its power. Every act of kindness plants a seed. And that seed has the potential to bloom into something far greater than you can imagine. Take the story of a man who had been struggling with depression for years. He kept it all hidden behind a mask, showing the world his happy face, but inside he felt empty. One day while walking through the park, he noticed a homeless man sitting alone on a bench. Something about the way the man sat there, isolated, lost, struck a chord with him. Without thinking, he walked up to the man, offered him a sandwich, and struck up a conversation. The simple act of kindness opened up a floodgate of emotion for both of them. The homeless man, who had not spoken to anyone in days, shared his story, and the man listened without judgment. That conversation didn't solve any problems, but it created a connection that helped both of them feel less alone. The man walked away from that encounter with a renewed sense of purpose and an understanding that his own struggles weren't so isolating after all. That one act of kindness reminded him of the power of human connection and the difference we can make in each other's lives. Sometimes we think that kindness needs to be grand. We think it needs to be some major life-changing act, like donating millions or volunteering. But kindness doesn't need to be big to be impactful. The truth is, kindness is woven into the small moments that make up our days. The way you smile at a colleague who is having a tough day. The time you take to listen to a friend's problems without interrupting. The random compliment you give someone who looks like they need it. These everyday acts of kindness accumulate over time, and they have a ripple effect that we often never see, but always feel. Think about a mother who stays up late to comfort her child after a nightmare, or a friend who texts you just to check in when you're going through a rough patch. These moments may seem ordinary, but they're extraordinary in their ability to show love, compassion, and care. When you show kindness to others, you are not just helping them feel better in that moment. You are teaching them how to be kind to others as well. It's a cycle, a chain of goodwill that spreads far beyond what we can even comprehend. There's a story of a woman who, every morning, stops by a local coffee shop on her way to work. She's always polite, always smiling, but one day, she notices the barista seems off. He's not his usual upbeat self. She doesn't let it go unnoticed. She asks if he's okay, and they start a conversation. The barista, feeling vulnerable, admits that he's been going through a rough time at home. Without hesitation, she hands him an extra tip and says, "I hope today gets better for you." It was a simple exchange, but for him it was the kindness he needed to turn his day around. Sometimes the smallest gestures have the most profound impacts. It's not about how much you give, it's about how much love you put into that gesture. And what's truly powerful is that kindness is contagious. When you show kindness to others, it encourages them to pass it on. It creates a cycle of positivity that spreads, changing the atmosphere around you. Imagine walking into a room where everyone is kind, where people support each other, lift each other up, and lend a hand when needed. That's the world we should strive to create. And it starts with each of us. It starts with those small, everyday acts of kindness that remind others that they matter, that they are seen and valued. In every aspect of life, kindness has the power to transform. It can heal wounds that time may not be able to mend, and it can build bridges that distance cannot break. Never underestimate the power of a smile, a kind word, or a listening ear. The world may seem harsh and chaotic, but you have the ability to change the course of someone's day, or even their life, by being kind. Kindness is the language that transcends barriers. It is the force that connects us all, no matter where we come from, what we've been through, or who we are. And it's something we all have the power to give every single day. Your spiritual life is the core of who you are. It's the foundation that supports every aspect of your existence. But it is also one of the most misunderstood and overlooked parts of life. In today's world, we are often caught up in the chase for material success, external validation, and personal achievements. We forget that the true purpose of life lies not in what we accumulate, but in how we connect with the deeper unseen forces that govern the universe. Your spiritual life is not about adhering to a specific set of rules or labels. It's about tuning into your inner self, aligning with a higher purpose, and embracing the beauty of being alive in a way that transcends the mundane. Consider the story of a woman who had everything: a successful career, a beautiful family, and all the luxuries one could desire. Yet she felt empty, disconnected, as if something fundamental was missing. She was constantly tired, constantly stressed, constantly striving for more, yet never feeling truly fulfilled. One day, during a moment of introspection, she asked herself a simple question: what am I really living for? It was in that moment of quiet reflection that she realized the missing piece of her life wasn't more success or possessions. It was a deeper connection to her spiritual self. She began to explore meditation, prayer, and spending more time in nature, just listening to the world around her. Slowly, as she started nurturing her spiritual side, she felt a shift. She was still doing all the things she loved, but now her actions were infused with meaning, with purpose, with a sense of peace that had eluded her before. Your spiritual life doesn't have to be grand or flashy. It can begin in the smallest of moments. Maybe it's the stillness you find in the quiet of the morning before the world demands your attention. Maybe it's in the way you take a few deep breaths and reconnect with your soul after a long day. Spirituality is not about finding a destination. It's about the journey. It's about learning to be present in the moment and finding peace in the now. It's in the way you approach every aspect of your life, knowing that there's more to existence than meets the eye. Think of someone you know who seems to radiate peace and calm. They're not perfect, they don't have it all together, but they have this quiet assurance about them that everything will be okay. It's not because they have all the answers, it's because they have faith. They trust in something greater than themselves, and that trust gives them the strength to handle life's challenges with grace. They may not talk about their spiritual life often, but it's evident in how they live. They don't need external validation because they are grounded in their own sense of purpose. They are connected to the divine, to the universe, to the source of all things. And that connection gives them power. Your spiritual life is your compass. It's the guiding force that helps you navigate through life's storms. When everything feels chaotic, when the weight of the world is on your shoulders, your spirituality can provide clarity. It's the inner voice that tells you to keep going, to trust the process, to have faith even when the path is unclear. The strength you need to move forward in life doesn't come from external sources. It comes from within. It comes from your spiritual connection to the divine energy that flows through everything. There's a man who, after going through a series of personal tragedies, found himself questioning the meaning of life. He had lost his job, his relationship had fallen apart, and he felt completely lost. One day in his darkest hour, he walked into a church, sat in silence, and just allowed himself to be still. He didn't pray for anything specific. He didn't ask for answers. He just sat. And in that stillness, he felt something shift. It was as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He realized that for all the pain he had experienced, he had never truly allowed himself to connect with something bigger than himself. That moment of silence in the church sparked a journey of spiritual awakening. He began to meditate, read spiritual texts, and reflect on his inner self. Over time, he found peace and healing in his connection to the divine. His external circumstances didn't change overnight, but he changed. And with that change came a profound sense of peace and acceptance. Spirituality is not a destination, it is a continuous journey, a path of growth, learning, and transformation. It's about aligning with the higher purpose of your life, even when you don't fully understand what that purpose is. It's about trusting that the universe has a plan for you, even when things seem uncertain. It's about knowing that you are part of something much bigger than yourself, and that your life has meaning beyond the daily grind. The power of spirituality lies in its ability to transform you from the inside out. When you nurture your spiritual life, you begin to see the world through a different lens. You begin to understand that everything, every challenge, every setback, every triumph is part of the greater plan for your life. You become more compassionate, more patient, more at peace. You begin to see the divine in everything. The people around you, the beauty of nature, the kindness of strangers. Your spiritual life brings clarity, peace, and purpose to your everyday existence. And when you live from this place, everything else falls into alignment. As we stand on the threshold of greatness, it's essential to realize that the power to shape our destiny lies within us. The world is a reflection of our inner strength, our commitment, and the energy we put into everything we do. It's not about how many times we fall, but how many times we rise. Life is a journey, one filled with obstacles, triumphs, setbacks, and victories. But it is not these external factors that define us. It's our ability to tap into the deeper, unwavering force within. The key to transforming your reality, to becoming the person you are destined to be, lies in the choices you make in every single moment. And let me remind you, the moment you choose to believe in yourself, everything shifts. Look at the people who have achieved extraordinary things in life. The visionaries, the trailblazers, the change makers. They all share one common thread. They dared to dream beyond their circumstances, beyond the limitations others imposed on them. They embraced their struggles, not as barriers, but as lessons, as stepping stones that took them closer to their purpose. These individuals didn't let fear control them. Instead, they used it as fuel to propel themselves forward. When they faced the unknown, they didn't shrink back, they moved forward with faith, with determination, and with an unwavering belief in their potential. You are no different. You have within you an unshakable strength, a fire that cannot be extinguished. You have the power to shape your destiny and to rise above every challenge. Don't let the doubts of others or the fears that arise in your own mind hold you back. Remember, the greatest achievements come from the moments when you step outside your comfort zone, when you do what others say is impossible. The world's greatest leaders, innovators, and creators were once told they couldn't do it. They were once told they weren't good enough. But they chose to ignore those voices, and instead they trusted in their own. When the world says, no, you can't, you have to say, yes, I can. And not just once, but every single day in every single action. It's about showing up for yourself, no matter the circumstances. It's about believing that the best version of yourself is already within you, waiting to break free. The truth is, the only limitations you have are the ones you place on yourself. Break free from them. Don't let fear keep you small. Rise above it. You are capable of things you never thought possible. And when you step into your true power, you will astonish yourself. You are worthy of success. You are worthy of happiness. You are worthy of love, of abundance, and of peace. Never let anyone or anything tell you otherwise. Remember, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Every setback you face is just another opportunity to grow. Every failure is just a lesson in disguise, teaching you resilience, teaching you strength, teaching you that the only way to truly fail is to stop trying. It's not about how fast you reach the top, but about how you handle the climb. It's not about avoiding the storm, but about how you weather it. This is your life. You are the author of your own story. You hold the pen, and you get to write every chapter. No one else gets to decide your worth or your potential. The opinions of others, they don't matter. What matters is how you see yourself, how you choose to show up in the world. The world is waiting for you to take the first step, to show it what you are made of. Don't hold back. Don't wait for the right time, because the right time is now. The right time is always now. You have everything you need within you to create the life of your dreams. Remember this, you are not defined by your circumstances. You are not defined by your past. You are defined by your actions, by your courage, and by your ability to move forward despite the odds. So rise up, take action, and step into your greatness. The world is yours for the taking. You are destined for extraordinary things. Never forget that. Never settle for anything less than the life you were meant to live. You are powerful. You are limitless. You are unstoppable. The journey has just begun. Now go and make it count.